So back in 2023, this one movie drops that, well, critics pretty much called a disaster. But audiences, they thought it was a masterpiece. That film was Nefarious, and honestly, the story behind its reception is almost more interesting than the movie's plot itself. Today, we're going to unpack just why this little horror film became such a huge cultural talking point, and what it tells us about the massive gap between what critics and audiences are looking for in a movie. All right, let's just jump right into the numbers, because this is what got everybody talking in the first place. You've got the professional critics on one side and the everyday audience on the other. And believe me, the story they tell is dramatic.
Okay, look at this. On Rotten Tomatoes, you've got a rotten score of 33% from critics. I mean, by any standard, that's a flop. But then you look at the audience score, a massive 96%. To give you some context, that's a higher score than a whole lot of movies that go on to win Oscars. We're not talking about a small disagreement here. This is like two groups of people watch two completely different films.
And that right there is the big question we're digging into. How in the world does a movie fail so badly with critics but become a smash hit with the public? Well, the answer doesn't really have to do with ghosts or jump scares. It has everything to do with ideas. To get to the bottom of this, we've got to understand the film's setup. It's actually super simple and very tense. Almost the whole story happens in just one room, and it's all about one single high-stakes conversation. So in one corner, you have Dr. Martin. He's a psychiatrist, an atheist, a man of science. In the other corner, you have Edward, a convicted serial killer who insists he's possessed by a demon. The doctor's job seems simple enough. Figure out if Edward is sane enough to be executed. But, the demon, he has a totally different agenda.
And here it is. This is the hook. The demon, who calls himself Nefarious, drops this bombshell of a prophecy right at the beginning. He's not trying to escape his execution. He's looking forward to it. And he claims that by the time they're done talking, the good doctor himself is going to be a murderer. It just sets the stage for this incredible psychological showdown.
Okay, so this is where you can really start to see why people were so divided. It all comes down to what Nefarious was marketed as versus what it actually is. The marketing, the posters, the trailers, it all screamed supernatural horror. But what people got when they sat down in the theater was something else entirely. I mean, forget about gore and jump scares. Nefarious is basically a 90-minute theological and philosophical debate. It's a movie that's way more about what you're hearing than what you're seeing. And we're not talking about a light chat either. This conversation between the demon and the doctor goes right for the throat, tackling some of the most heated, controversial topics in our society. The demon, Nefarious, basically offers up this critique of the modern world from his own unique evil perspective. And it forces the doctor, and us, the audience, to think about some really uncomfortable stuff. Now look, when you make a film that's almost all talk, it's gonna live or die based on its performances. They have to be incredible. And with Nefarious, this is the one thing pretty much everyone agreed on, even if they hated the movie's message. That central performance was just a tour de force. The actor Sean Patrick Flanery got praise from basically everyone, even the film's biggest critics. People were calling it a career best performance. His ability to just flip in an instant from this cold, cunning demon to the terrified, broken human host, it was just seen as the absolute highlight of the whole film. So here's the crucial part. Now that we have the premise, those really heavy themes, and that powerhouse performance, we can finally put the puzzle pieces together and understand why the reception was so split. It really all boils down to what you believe the purpose of a movie is. It's almost a perfect case of one person's flaw being another's favorite feature. The critics, and many of them pointed out this film came from the writers of God's Not Dead, saw it as preachy and heavy-handed. They felt it was just a vehicle for a faith-based message. But for a huge chunk of the audience, that message was the whole reason they loved it. They called the dialogue compelling and the story theologically deep, a movie with real substance. And get this? It turns out this whole thing wasn't an accident. The filmmakers themselves gave us the final clue. They revealed that there was a very specific, very deliberate strategy behind how this film was made and sold to the public. Yeah, the directors have been super open about this. They knew that a movie with an openly Christian message probably wouldn't attract a mainstream audience. So what did they do? They wrapped it in the packaging of a horror film. They built a Trojan horse to carry their message to people who would never have watched it otherwise. And
Well, based on that 96% audience score, you have to admit their plan kinda worked.
So, where does all this leave us? The whole nefarious situation is just a fascinating look at the power of perspective. It's a huge reminder that art is totally subjective. What one person sees as preachy, another sees as profound. But it also brings up these bigger questions, right? About movies, messages, and our polarized world. What makes a film a success? Is it good reviews, box office numbers, or is it finding an audience that connects with it on a deeper level? The case of Nefarious, well, it suggests there's no easy answer.